let's continue discussing the mitigating circumstances now. I believe we ended at the third. Now I'm discussing the fourth until the last mitigating circumstances in this video lecture. Okay. What's the fourth mitigating circumstance? Ano nga ba itong pang-apat? The sufficient threat or provocation on the part of the offended party. When we say provocation, it is any unjust or improper conduct or act of the offended party which can excite, incite, or irritate anyone. In layman's term, ang sinasabi lang dito, ikaw yung nanguna, tapos gumante yung sinaktan mo. In turn, nung gumante, nagkaroon siya ng criminal liability. Kasi nga, pinrovoke mo eh. So, yun. Pero, that will be mitigating circumstance lang. Hindi siya exempting. Hindi siya walang criminal liability. Okay? So, yun. That's provocation. What are the requisites? First, dapat yung provocation, sufficient yan. Hindi yung basta lang. Halimbawa, kinurot ka lang, tapos napatay mo na. It's insufficient. Okay? It will not be falling into mitigating circumstance. And second, that it must originate from the offended party. Dapat, yung naging biktima dun sa crime, sa kanya manggagaling yung provocation. Okay? Or pangiinis. Okay? And third, the provocation must be immediate to the act. Paano immediate? Like for example, sinuntok mo. Gumanti agad. Okay? Hindi po pwede na lumipas yung ilang araw sa kalang. That is not the sufficient threat or provocation that is being discussed under this mitigating circumstance. Okay? Dapat siya sufficient. Dapat yung provocation is talagang yung sinuntok mo sa mukha, sinampal mo, yun, hindi pwedeng kinurot mo lang, 'di ba? So, yun. And dapat immediate din yung pagganti that leads to the violation of the revised penal code or committing criminal liability on the part of the accused na sinuntok mo. Okay? So, dahil sinuntok mo siya, nagalit siya, sobrang galit, napatay ka niya. So, 'di ba? That is the mitigating circumstance of sufficient threat or provocation on the part of the offended party. Okay? So, next, we go to vindication of grave offense. Ano ba tong vindication ng grave offense? What are the requisites? The grave offense has been done to the one committing a felony. His spouse, ascendants, descendants, legitimate, natural, or adopted, brothers or sisters, or relatives by affinity within the same degree. And the felony is committed in immediate vindication of such grave offense. A lapse of time is allowed between the vindication and the doing of the grave offense. Okay? So, ang scenario dito, for you to understand it more, it applies, halimbawa may offense na ginawa doon sa surviving spouse ng namatay na kamag-anak. Okay? So, yun. In turn, gumante yung kamag-anak dun sa napatay. So, that's what's being mitigated in this, yung vindication of grave offense. Kumbaga, may ginawa siya sa kamag-anak mo, sa kapatid mo, and in turn, ikaw yung gumante on behalf of your brother. That's a vindication of grave offense. Okay? So, yun. So, next, we go to passion and obfuscation. Ano ba naman itong passion or obfuscation? Ito yung, it refers to an emotional feeling which produces excitement so powerful as to overcome reason and control. So, it must come from a prior unjust and proper acts. The passion and obfuscation must emanate from legitimate sentiments. Okay? So, what is the rule para mag-apply tong passion and obfuscation? Okay. Dapat, this passion or obfuscation, may constitute as a mitigating circumstance only when it aroused from lawful sentiments. When we say lawful, meron kang dahilan under the law, okay, to do the crime that you committed. Okay? So, what are the requisites? Dapat unlawful yung act. Tapos, yung unlawful act, it is sufficient to produce a condition of mind. Okay? It produce obfuscation that will lead to the commission of the crime. Okay? So, yun. Ano example nito? One example can be yung asawa mo, you caught in the act of having sexual intercourse with another. So, dahil sa galit mo, napatay mo. Ganon. Kaya naman, yung nanay mo, nakita niya na sinampal ka ng kaibigan mo. Ngayon, ang ginawa, it creates passion or obfuscation on the part of your mother. So, sinaktan niya yung kaibigan mo, and in turn, it leads to criminal liability. So, lawful yung sentiment. Bakit? Kasi ginawan ka ng crime. Diba? Or ginawan ka ng unlawful act. So, yung sentiments mo is lawful. Okay? Now, we go to paragraph 7, voluntary surrender and confession of guilt. So, there are two kinds of voluntary surrender. Two kinds of mitigating circumstances under this paragraph. Okay? Under paragraph 7. First one is the voluntary surrender. It is a voluntary surrender or pagsuko sa mga authority or their agents. So, sino-sino ba itong authority or agents? Baka kasi nagsusurrender ka pero hindi naman sa tamang agent or authority. So, we made sure that the voluntary surrender is made to the proper agent or authorities. And second, the voluntary confession of guilt before the court before presenting evidence for the prosecution. So, dapat aamin ka. Ang pag-amin ginagawa yan sa arraignment. Arraignment is a stage in the trial wherein tinatanong ng akusado kung siya ba ay inaamin or hindi, kung siya ba ay guilty or not guilty. Yun yung time na pwede niyang sagutin. Kapag umamin siya, ang magiging consequence nun, mas mababa ang parusa sa kanya kesa dun sa parusa na dapat niyang kakaharapin dun sa nilabag niyang batas. Pero dahil umamin siya, mas mababang ipapataw sa kanya. For example, attempted homicide, 12 years to 20 years ang penalty. So, kung umamin siya, bababa yan. Ng siguro 8 to 12 years, gano'n. Yun yung effect ng voluntary confession or voluntary surrender sa penalty. Okay? So, yun. Kapag ka naman nag-coexist, halimbawa, nag-voluntary surrender na, sumuko na, tapos, on the time of the trial, umamin din siya. So, dalawang mitigating circumstance yon. Mangyari, dalawa yung ibababa ng kanyang penalty. Okay? So, ano ba yung requisites ng voluntary surrender? First, the offender had not been arrested. So, hindi pa siya na-aresto. Kasi nga, magkukusa kang susuko eh. So, the fact na nasusuko ka pa lang, hindi ka pa na-aresto. Second, he surrendered himself to a person in authority or to the latter's agent. Okay. Dapat magsusurrender siya sa mga police o kaya sa mga agents ng mga police. And third, the surrender was voluntary. Dapat kusang loob siya. Okay? Voluntarily surrendering. Hindi yung pinilit ka, hindi yung may mga other reasons bakit. Dapat voluntary yon. Okay? Kailan ba kino-consider na voluntary yon? It is considered voluntary when it is spontaneous. Okay? Demonstrating intent to submit himself unconditionally to the person of authority, to the agent. Bakit? Kasi inaamin nila na guilty sila and or to save time para sa mga authorities na hindi na siya mag-incur ng expenses na ano pa ng warrant, na hanapin sila ng time, kasi pag ang warrant, mag-a-apply ka pa niyan sa judge. So, it costs time and expense on the part of our agents or the police officers. So, yung pagsuko mo, nakakatipid ng oras at ng gastos yung gobyerno para sa paghanap pa sa iyo. So, yun. Okay? So, that's voluntary surrender. Pero, sino nga ba tong persons and authority? Kanino ako magsusurrender? Okay? So, one is dun sa tao na meron jurisdiction, who is a public officer or power to govern and execute laws, whether individual or member of the court or government or commission. Okay? Sino naman yung agent? So, ang example ng mga person and authority sa police, sa court, sa judge, yan. Doon pwede. Sino naman tong agent na to? Sila yung by direct provision of law or by election are charged with the maintenance of public order. Okay? So, yun. And protection na security mga barangay tanod, barangay officials, ganyan. Okay, next. We go to the requisites of voluntary confession of guilt. Now, what are the requisites of this? First, the offender spontaneously confess their guilt. Kumbaga, kusang loob niyang inamin na, oho, guilty ako, pinatay ko si A. Oho, guilty ako, pinatay ko si B. Okay? And it was made in an open court. Sabi ko nga, ginagawa yan at the time of arraignment. Okay? Arraignment, stage of trial in a criminal proceeding. Okay? Bago siya itry yung kaso niya, bago magpresenta ng ebidensya, dapat aamin ka na. Okay? And it was made prior to the presentation of evidence before the prosecution. So, pag sinabing prosecution, mga piskal yan. Bago sila magharap ng ebidensya laban sa'yo, dapat umamin ka na doon. Kasi pag na-miss mo yun, hindi ka na magkakaroon ng mitigating circumstance of voluntary confession. Okay. So, yun. Next, we go to physical defect of the offender under paragraph 8 of the revised penal code. Paragraph 8, article 13 of the revised penal code. Ano ba tong physical defect? May physical condition yung akusado. It's either bingi siya, deaf and dumb, blind, armless, cripple, or stutterer. Pero, grabe nakakapagtaka, no? May defective ka na nga. I mean, you have your physical disability and yet you can commit a crime. But anyway, still it's under your intent to do such thing or to violate the revised penal code. So, yon. Kung deaf and dumb ka, blind ka, armless ka, cripple ka, as an accused in the case, you can avail for the benefit of mitigating circumstance. Okay. Ano ba yung requisites ng physical defect? First, the offender is deaf and dumb, blind, or otherwise suffering from some physical defect. Second, such physical defect restricts his means of action, defense, or communication with their fellow beings. So, physically defective sila kasi nga bingi, bulag, pilay, o kaya dumb. And yung physical defect na yon restricts his means of action, defense, or communication with a fellow being. Okay? Dapat, yung defect niya, as mitigating circumstance, is may relasyon dun sa offense committed. Okay? Under paragraph 9, the illness of the offender. Ano ang requisites nito? First, the illness of the offender must diminish the exercise of the willpower. Kumbaga, yung sakit niya, dahil may sakit siya, nababawasan yung exercise niya ng kanyang freedom or ng kanyang will. Okay? Pero, yung illness na yon hindi dapat deprive yung akusado dun sa na conscious siya sa ginagawa niya. Meaning, may sakit lang siya, pero still, conscious siya na mali yung ginagawa niya. Okay? So, yon, that's the requisites of illness. So, if the illness not only diminishes the exercise of the offender's willpower, but deprives them of the consciousness of their acts, magiging exempting yan under insanity or imbecility. Pero, if it diminishes the willpower, pero conscious siya sa ginagawa niya na mali yun, mitigating yun. Okay? So, yun. And the last for the mitigating circumstance is similar or analogous circumstances. Ano ba yung example nito? Actually, this is a case-to-case basis. So, yun. Ang nakalagay sa revised penal code is any other circumstance of a similar nature and analogous to those mentioned. So, halimbawa, halos same sila ng situation. It can be granted as a mitigating circumstance kahit hindi siya nakaprovide sa revised penal code under Article 13. So, hindi, yung Article 13, it's not an exclusive list. The Supreme Court can declare under the basis of this Article 13 paragraph 10 of those circumstances na kahit hindi naman specified under the mitigating, if it calls for a mitigating circumstance, then they can give it to under analogous circumstances or similar in nature to those that are enumerated under paragraph 10 of Article 13. So that would be all for the mitigating circumstance. Tandaan yung mga requisites na diniscuss ko, and because it will be helpful for you to answer your examinations in the upcoming finals or semi-finals. Okay? So that would be all for the mitigating circumstance. For the next lecture, I'll be discussing the aggravating circumstance. Thank you.